Hey friends, welcome to today's video. Today, we're going to talk about something we use every day, but rarely try to truly understand. And that is, why is listening so important? You might be thinking, listening is pretty simple. You have ears, a sound comes in, and you just hear it. Isn't that it? But no, guys, that's where the real story begins. Because listening isn't just a physical act. It's a skill, a power, and sometimes it can totally change your life. Today's story is about a guy who taught the world that speaking is important, but listening the right way is even more powerful. His name was Ethan Carter. Ethan was born in a small coastal town where the sounds of the sea, the rustling wind, and simple everyday life were part of every day. His family wasn't rich, but they were simple and very emotionally connected. His dad was a school teacher, and his mom was a nurse. From childhood, Ethan was a bit different. While other kids were quick to speak up, Ethan was always quiet. But being quiet didn't mean he was distant from the world. He was observing it, closely. Very closely. Whenever his parents or teachers spoke, he didn't just hear them, he understood them. Their tone, their emotions, their pauses. He felt it all. But back then, no one really gave it much importance. People just called him a quiet kid. But the real story was yet to begin. As Ethan grew up, his personality became clearer at school. He didn't talk much, but whenever he did, his words had depth. But his biggest strength was something else: his power to listen. His teachers often said Ethan was the most attentive student, but never the first to answer. He listened fully first, thought it over, and then spoke. But even he didn't know back then that this was his strength. Now the story takes a new turn. In high school, Ethan witnessed something that changed his life. One day, a student in his class was really upset. Someone had bullied him, but he hadn't told anyone. The teacher asked questions, but the student said nothing. Ethan watched him, and for the first time, he didn't just hear, but actually observed. He noticed what the student wasn't saying, what his silence was telling. After class, Ethan went up to him and simply asked, "Are you okay?" Just that simple question. But the student broke down for the first time and shared his whole story with Ethan. And that's when Ethan realized, listening isn't just about hearing words. It's about understanding unspoken feelings. That was the moment his mindset changed. Ethan was no longer just a student. He was becoming an observer, someone who understood people not by their words, but by their silence. When he got to college, Ethan chose psychology. But more than traditional psychology, he was interested in communication and listening behavior. His professors said Ethan always brought up topics no one else paid attention to. Why do people stop listening? Why do conversations fail even when words are clear? Why does silence sometimes say more than speech? His curiosity set him apart from other students, but struggles had started too. College life wasn't easy for him. People often underestimated him. Why are you so quiet? You can't be a leader if you don't speak up. He had to hear stuff like this all the time. But Ethan never argued. He just listened and quietly learned. Now the story takes another important turn. After graduation, Ethan struggled to get a job. Everywhere he went, people said his communication skills were weak because he didn't talk much. But here's the irony. The guy people called a bad communicator actually had the deepest understanding of communication. Finally, he got a small research assistant job at a behavioral research lab. And that's where his life was about to change. There was a senior researcher at the lab who noticed Ethan. He saw that Ethan spoke little in meetings but remembered every detail. He understood who was feeling what. That researcher gave Ethan a project. Human Listening Behavior Study. That's where Ethan's real journey began. He spent months researching, conducting interviews, observing people, studying relationships, and he reached a shocking conclusion. 90% of people don't really listen. They just wait for their turn to speak. That one line completely changed Ethan's thinking. He realized the problem in the world isn't communication, it's listening. Now the story gets even more interesting. Ethan published his first research paper, The Silent Gap in Human Communication. At first, no one paid attention, but slowly, universities, psychologists, and communication experts started noticing him. Ethan began getting invited to conferences, but even there, he wasn't the loudest voice. He always said, "Real communication happens when you stop trying to impress and start trying to understand." That line went viral. Ethan Carter became a known name in communication psychology, but his real success was yet to come. He started a global program called Listen First Initiative. Its goal was to teach people how to become better listeners. Schools, companies, even governments started adopting the program. Workplace conflicts reduced. Relationships improved. Mental health issues got better because people finally felt heard. That was the moment Ethan felt his life's purpose was being fulfilled. But the story doesn't end here. In the 2020s, technology took over. AI, social media, fast communication. People started talking more and more, but listening less and less. Ethan saw this trend and got worried. He said, "We're more connected than ever, but less understood than ever." So he launched a digital platform, Listen Space. This platform trained people in deep listening, real conversations, emotional understanding. By 2026, Listen Space became one of the top communication platforms worldwide. Millions of users, companies used it for corporate training, schools taught it as emotional education. And Ethan Carter was no longer just a researcher. He was a global thought leader. But he was still the same guy. Quiet, observant, and deeply listening. Now comes the final phase. In 2026, Ethan gave a global speech, which became his most famous ever. He said, "We all want to speak, but no one wants to listen, and that's humanity's biggest problem. If you really want to understand someone, don't give advice first, listen first." That day, people around the world realized listening isn't just a skill, it's empathy, it's connection, it's healing. And that's when Ethan Carter's story became a legend. Looking back at this whole journey, just a simple guy who didn't talk much but listened, gave the world a new understanding. And that's the biggest lesson of this story. Listening isn't just about catching sounds with your ears. It's about understanding someone's emotions, reading their silence, truly feeling another person. In today's fast world, people think the powerful ones are those who talk the most. But actually, the powerful ones are those who listen the right way. And Ethan Carter proved that. If you want to improve your relationships, career, or personal growth, maybe you need to practice listening more than talking. Because everyone has something to say. But not everyone has someone who truly listens. And when you become that person who really listens, you don't just become a better communicator. You become a better human being. So friends, the conclusion of this story is simple. Listen more, understand deeper, and connect better. Because listening isn't just a skill, it's a superpower.